New York Democratic Socialists, AOC, leveling bombshell allegations on conditions at migrant detention centers after she joined a group of House Democrats who visited 2 detention facilities in Texas yesterday. The Congresswoman even reportedly screaming at border agents at one stop. Here are the explosive claims she's making about the treatment of those migrants.
There's abuse in these facilities. There's abuse. This was them on their best behavior, and they put them in a room with no running water, and these women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet, and that was them knowing a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
Did you see somebody actually do that?
I mean, in that last facility, I was not safe from the officers in that facility.
Border Patrol issuing a harsh rebuttal to the freshman Congresswoman, firing back saying the accusations are not true.
I can tell you with the utmost confidence that the migrants, anyone and everyone in our custody at all of our facilities have ready access to fresh water. They have access to consumables, and the standards that we apply to make sure that on a recurring and very timed basis that not only they have access to the types of consumables and fresh water that they would need. I've never heard in 26 years of being in this business ever heard of that type of allegation being made.
Greg, do you believe her?
I would actually need to see some proof to this. I think it's just her being sneaky, because I don't believe, this is my gut, is that no one's been drinking from any toilet. But if you see that the water fountain is situated above the toilet for plumbing reasons, in an emergency shelter, and often in correctional facilities, you will see that. You'll see the toilet, and then it's the same for plumbing reasons, because that's where the plumbing comes out of. So the water source is below. It's not toilet water. It's actually it's drinking water, but it's above the toilet. But she's clever, because she just broadly says they're drinking from the toilet. And people can go like, oh, yeah, because the toilet's there. So I think that what she did was she said something that is false, but directionally true. Like, meaning she could get away with it. I think the bigger story, too, is how the left has this free pass to demonize anyone. We've seen accusations of child abuse directed at people who work there. She suggested that these guys might sexually assault her. She doesn't feel safe around them. These are horrible things to say about people, casually, to say them casually. But if you respond angrily, or you make criticize her, suddenly she becomes the victim. These are snowflakes bearing switchblades. They come at you, and the moment you respond, it's like, oh my God, you hate me. And it's like, it is kind of weird. And the irony of this whole thing is the left incentivizes these crises by egging on 2 things. The caravans. They were encouraged as a way to overwhelm the border, to create visuals. Next, they were incentivized to bring children, because the activists were telling people it was easier to get across the border if you bring kids, and it's easier to demonize the people that are meant to deal with this influx. And so the result is you have more sexual assaults, more drowning, and more death. I mean, these centers are probably the best relief that these people are going to get in this situation, and they're being demonized. It's by the very people who are incentivizing it.
And she voted twice against bills that would have provided more resources for these migrants in these facilities, and then she goes down to the facility and say they're not getting the right resources. Looks pretty hypocritical.
Are you talking to me?
I am talking to Juan Williams.
Because I think one of the things that happens here is we can politicize this, and I just would prefer that we not do that.
Okay.
But I will say this, that the big news to me is they have this Facebook page group, the Border Patrol agents, who have absolutely spoken in dehumanizing terms about the migrants. And they've also made awful sexual innuendo about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Congresswoman. And now we have a DHS Inspector General report in which the Inspector General, Jesse, says 3 of the 5 stations have no shower for children. Kids have no change of clothes and no way to do laundry. And 2 of the stations, 2 of the 5, have no hot meals for kids. So these are not good situations. And if you then understand the kind of very hostile rhetoric that the agents have been taking part in on the Facebook page than for the Congresswoman to do her duty, which is to go to that station and to inspect it and to see the conditions and not just engage in political rhetoric in Washington, but actually go. I think she has a right to feel safe.
So she did no political rhetoric down there? That wasn't a photo op?
No.
When she insulted those people?
She didn't insult them.
She called them Nazis.
I guess that's not political.
Greg, I'll tell you what was insulting. Them talking about her in a totally different way.
We can go into that, too. But she called them child abusers,
and
right?
Nazis.
And ads called them
and they
child
were running
abusers.
concentration camps. And I think, Katie, we all agree. We want the best for these migrants. We want to take care of them as best we can.
Given the situation.
They should not be here. They should not have come here the way they came here. It's an unfortunate situation. But the Border Patrol agents, they're not trained for this. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the money. They're doing the best they can.
Right. Well, I'm glad that she made a real trip to a detention center, to a shelter, instead of posing for a photo op in front of a empty parking lot like she did the first time around with the photographer and her fake crying. That's the first step. The second thing is that her outrage is totally fraudulent because she has voted against every single piece of legislation that would have at least eased the situation temporarily. The reason why, Juan, you're seeing a lack of facilities, a lack of food, a lack of clothing for children is because the Border Patrol is overwhelmed. These facilities are meant for maybe 1,000 people. There are 4,000 or 5,000 people who are crowding these facilities. And that is happening because Congress and people like AOC continue to use this as a political talking point instead of actually solving the problem. When Wayfair sold beds to the Border Patrol to have beds for children who didn't have them, she led a boycott and said that they shouldn't be selling beds to children. And then she goes down there and says, why don't any of these children have any beds?
Right.
And so it's completely disingenuous. And the fact is that this can be fixed. And if you want to be part of the solution, then you don't just go down and call the Border Patrol sexual assaulters, sexual predators, and Nazis. You actually vote for things that make it better.
Yeah, and some of the witnesses down there, Dana, according to the Washington Examiner, said that she went in, started yelling and screaming at the Border Patrol officers, refused a tour of the facility, and mischaracterized the conversation she had with the detainee.
It is pretty astonishing that you can have several people all saying what she said about drinking water out of the toilet, and you can have several people all saying what you're just describing here, which is that how inappropriately she was acting and aggressively and hostile initially going in. And look, obviously emotions are running high. One of my favorite Beatitudes is, blessed are the meek. Who are the meek? The meek are the children. Are we responsible for taking care of the children? We are at this point, at this moment. And I think what the administration has figured out is you have to figure out a way to triage this situation. So one of the things they did today is, of all the immigration fights, they decide we're going to print the census without the citizenship question. Whether they would have won on the merits, I think they probably would have, but there were problems with it. It is the executive branch's responsibility to do the census. The president's going to get that done. Fine, they take it off the table. They just got the $4.5 billion signed last week. The president signs that into law.
Thereof.
Yeah, and now the man behind the camera tells News 4 he wants more than just a refund. Ida Siegel has the story from Suffolk County.
Okay, now you're going to curse at me.
You want me to curse at you?
You just did.
You want me to curse at you?
A heated exchange at the Dairy Queen drive-thru window on Route 112 in Medford this weekend.
Okay,
Can I have my $13 back, please? Can I have my $13?
And get out of here. Don't come back again.
Put your mask on before you get your employees sick.
Customer Brandon Trotta posted the video on Facebook after he says he spotted a DQ worker preparing an ice cream for his family without wearing a mask. He asked to see a supervisor and encountered this woman, who wasn't wearing a mask either.
I told the cashier I'm not going to take those. I asked if they could please remake them with a mask. He brought over the manager who is on duty. She told me she doesn't need face masks because she's not dealing with the public.
An expletive-filled argument followed.
You're going to be on Facebook. I hope you like it.
Brandon's video soon went viral, and he got the attention of the Dairy Queen corporate office, which launched an investigation and suspended the maskless manager.
I'm more upset that the owners haven't really taken responsibility yet because this is a franchise, and they've reached out to me, but they haven't really rectified it to my satisfaction.
So Brandon came back to the ice cream chain tonight, holding a sign to warn other customers, some of whom promptly got out of the drive-through line.
the manager to remain here because there may be residents here
Well, yeah.
who would like to.
Might be some silly enough to go along with this, absolutely.
So that's why we're continuing at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
But just let you know that we have been in contact with the manager.
Okay.
And we've been advised.
Yeah. This will be going on social media, I tell you now. You're going to become stars. You really are. For this sinister act.
Richard's coming. He's
Right.
bringing the dog.
Right, yeah. The manager of the block's coming.
Okay, we've been advised as well, if we escalate, then we've been advised as well to leave the premises. So it's not a problem either way.
Okay.
If there may be residents who require us to give them the kits.
This virus is so lethal that you have to have a test to determine if you've actually had it or not. It's amazing, isn't it? You know, where were you 2 years ago when 50,000 people died from the flu? Where were you then? Nowhere.
So you know what's happening.
Just graph it, you can seal the bag.
Oh damn.